My name is Shaun Kennedy. Background, I was born in 1985. Grew up and spent most of life in the Dunbar area. My wrestling name was SK Scythe. SK was basically my initials. It wasn't anything fancy like serial killer or anything. Say it was and Scythe, we were looking for like a kind of like gothic Grim Reaper kind of edgy name, and Scythe just had that ring to it, so we went for that. You know, I always see that darker side in humanity, and like think I see good people, but I think what skeletons do you have in your closet?
It makes sense.
My mum and her partner at the time, Sam, it was an okay upbringing. You know, there was the odd fight between them, that makes things. A bit bullying at school, more so in secondary school, but it was just something I endured and sort of overcame, if that makes sense. There's worse things happening to other people. With hindsight, it probably has affected how I view people and society. But I'm not condoning the bullying I got, but in a way it's like everything happens for a reason, and I suppose like the harshness of the upbringing.
You change it into a positive, like some people end up coming a bully, or some people use it as
so bullying either makes you a dick or you sympathise with the person being bullied. So I would like to think that the bullying it's sort of made me a better person. But at the same time, I know that people can be cunts. And I would officially say around 1997, but the seeds got planted earlier than that, because I've got memories of watching, like, you know, the old school British wrestling, like Big Daddy and stuff. Very faint memories of me being tucked in my Aunt Helen's bed and watching the old British wrestling on the TV. So like that's when the seeds, I would say, got planted. And then of course pro wrestling made a big comeback in around 1997, and that's when everyone was in it, and like all the kids loved it. And then I sort of got into it back then, and that was like during the Attitude Era. They had a lot of edgy storylines. They kind of put his hooks in me, if that makes sense. Some people watching this interview might not remember these, but if you remember the old VHSs, so it's like the early 90s and the late 90s. So you had
that's two different styles.
So you had like comic book kind of like good guy, kind of
good guy, bad guy, yeah.
And then you got the late 90s where the good guys are badass. Time period, the 90s in general. The best way I can describe it, if you're a 90s kid, you know you're a 90s kid. That makes sense. It was that 90s attitude.
I think the 90s, like, you're right, the 90s was gritty. Like, as far as, like, it was grunge, it was that sort of era where it was like, Slipknot, all that came out, I was like, my era ago.
And we had so much influences in the 90s, like, fighting was quite big if you look at it, because boxing was still kind of big. And then martial arts and fighting, we had like Power Rangers were big, so they had all the martial arts there. And then we had games like Streets of Rage, Mortal Kombat. So it was, if you look on it, it was hard for wrestling not to make a comeback in a big way during the 90s, because all the elements were there, and I think we as kids just took it and ran with it. This is actually an interesting topic, because I consider at least 4 matches to be my official first match, if that makes sense. So I've been training for a while in SSW, and then I turned up for training, but I was the only one there. So what they decided to do was they let me have my first match. First time I had a match where it was like beginning, middle, and end.
Okay.
And the funny thing about that match is that it is actually one of the few times that I worked face. I think 95% of the times I've worked heel. For SSW Underground. SSW were doing like a whole underground kind of thing, so they were doing matches at the training unit, and you could only see those matches if you logged onto the website, the network. I guess you would say the groundwork for what was to come.
Yeah.
My first match in front of the crowd, was me and Paul Huntley versus Damaging. It was a hardcore match for the tag team title. I think it was for the tag team title, correct. That was more nerve-wracking because I was not familiar with my tag team partner, and it was also my first hardcore match. We also got squashed, to be honest. I remember thinking, I'm going to fuck shit. And then the music starts rolling and sort of like getting to the whole kind of swing of things. And then I just remember being like asking folk, did I fuck up? Did I screw up? Did I mess up? I'm just thinking, folk there having to reassure me, thinking, no, you did fine, you're okay, you're okay. There's a bit of self-critical side to me that I'm always looking for the negative, or I'm always going to think that I'm fucked up or something.
You think that's a story? I'm honestly the same.
I remember standing in front of the curtain, and I was nervous as fuck, and I was like thinking, you've spent a year and a half, or about a year and a half in training, you've been dreaming for this moment for so long, just go for it. Go out, pull the curtain back, try to look as intimidating as I can. I got in the ring, and this is the fun thing, I don't know if you've ever told your non-wrestling friends things you do in the wrestling world. What happened was I had a chalice full of blood.
Okay.
Took a gulp of the chalice while I was on top, middle turnbuckle, spewed the blood everywhere, and I managed to make a wee girl in the audience start crying. And it's one of those things like I told like my karate instructors this story. It's one of shock and horror and kind of like that disgusted. Why would you enjoy doing that kind of thing? But it was just a case of like. You cry, I'm the bad guy, you like living up the dream of being the bad guy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember about the match is me, after the show, helping take down the ring, and Cody's mother walking past the ring while I was in the ring and looking at him saying, you did good, boy. And I think that's one of the things where, one of those special memories.
That's good.
Not comparisons, but I remember. What's interesting is like a lot of other coaches said, well, whoever booked you in these matches shouldn't have put you in a hardcore match because that's not the kind of match you put beginners in. And I've always kind of looked back and thought, well, did SSW do the right thing? Did it put me in these matches? But at the same time, I've also think like, maybe it's not the way the company was wrong that was bad, or that being another factor. It's more a case of like the two bookers at the time had faith in my ability that I could handle the hardcore match, even though those were my two.
Was that not your sort of style? I mean,
yes, both Dave and Mary knew I had a martial arts background. So they were aware that I was doing competitions and so forth for putting me in those matches. And I think maybe they were quite confident that I could handle that situation. So it is a mixed bag, and the only way I can describe it is fucking wrestling. That's the best. Only way I can describe it. It's like there was a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. MJ used to say that wrestling were all one big family, But what you failed to mention is that we're one big dysfunctional family. With SSW, I appreciate my trainers and the bookers and my friends there for giving me the chance to live out a dream, something that I thought like I'd never, like 2006, I left school at 2003. 2016, if I remember correctly, yeah, 2016 is when I started training for wrestling. The best way I could describe it, although SSW wasn't always the best environment, my know for the South, what SSW did was let me have that opportunity to live a dream. Even though it was just even though it was an independent organization, it wasn't like WWE or anything like that. It was local show, local organization, local crowd. But having those matches, how many times have you went on the internet and you've seen some guy talk about wrestling or say this guy wrestler's good, this wrestler's bad, this blah blah blah, but they've never stepped in the fucking ring.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that SSW gave me, was to step into that ring. Just having that experience, I'm grateful for the guys at SSW for giving me that opportunity. Although there was a lot of wrestling is a bullshit business, as you probably will know. So one of the things you need with wrestling is high bullshit tolerance. But just for the fact that they let me have that opportunity, I'm grateful.
That's good.
Paying my dues. Now, I think I've got a wee bit of some of the wrestlers we've seen a bit of beef with this one. I was with SSW because I had to pay my dues. I had to referee some shows. I had to help out where I could. Now that was cool. What it was interesting in my situation is I'd been with that company, I think it was a year and 6 months. They got in the new guy and they brought in Steve, and Steve had only been with SSW and training with SSW for about 3 weeks, and Steve was on shows. And the thing was that they wanted a bigger guy for Dave to fight against.
Yeah.
And the fact was, I was with the company for a year and a half. I was paying my dues and then find out that a guy had only had 3 weeks training or whatever it was, and he was already on shows, and that kind of like really pissed me off. Bringing Steve with solo training where others had paid their dues didn't go down well the crowd as a whole. So it's nothing against Steve, who was a generally positive guy. You've been brought out at a really long time, and the way you've been brought in looks really bad and can be interpreted so it's not a case of this is Steve's fault or anything like that, but yeah, I think it could have been a bit more considerate.
Okay.
But at the same time, shit happens. Injuries, I'll say for the point off, I've been very blessed. I've had no injuries whatsoever, no broken bones. I'm not even been winded, I think, in wrestling at all. Maybe the odd bruise here and there, but that's been it. I've been very fortunate. Went to my first class on the Sunday and I was like, oh, this nervous, this is actual wrestling people. They're going to help me train. And I just remember being so excited doing the basic rolls. And the thing that everyone loves is to run the ropes.
Oh, I've never fucking here.
It was a case of because it's such a thing in wrestling where they're running the ropes back and forth, just to actually do it in a wrestling ring was like living the dream. The funny thing is, I guess, and this is the thing with me being in SSW, it's the case when I'm in any other company's ring right now. Think bump and just lie there, think this is luxury. It's not. But I think, in a weird way, the hardness of the ring and the fact that there was no giving it, you had to learn to take a bump properly and no bullshit about it. Learn how to bump, learn how to do it properly. People used to be a bit. They would say they would be sore after the match, but I didn't feel it then. I feel a wee bit more now. But a unit that was an absolute dump, and then they got a kind of a nicer place. And they got like the two adjoining places, so like there was only like, two warehouses, and Murray ended up using one of those as his living room and his man cave basically. What was interesting about SSW is that they also have the two sizes of rings. So there was the big ring that was in the second warehouse where Murray lived, and then the short one that we used for the shows, and I was up against MJ, and he was also one of the instructors. I don't think I could have had a better opponent, if I'm honest, because we knew each other so well. We worked really well together, so we could bounce things back and forth. He was also quite light. We just flowed really together. We pulled off a really good. We both helped each other pull off a really good show. MJ didn't have an ego. Like, we all got our egos, if that makes sense, but MJ's ego didn't get in the way, if that makes sense. So working together, it wasn't a case of like, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, or I don't want to do this because that makes me look shit, and blah 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 blah. I've never had that, if I'm honest. What we have to say about this, about Murray, is that when you're up against him, it's all about him. That makes sense. But at the same time, I've got to say this about Murray, because I was in a hardcore match against him, and I had a brain freeze panic mode. So if I'm honest, although Murray had scheduled the match to be all about him, because I had that brain freeze moment, I just panicked, and Murray had to carry me through the match. So I know a lot of the wrestlers don't like Murray for quite a few good reasons, if we're honest. But Murray has always been brutally honest with me. And he got me through the match, and he also didn't lecture me, but what he was trying to do, I think he was trying to be like, textbook, I like you, and you've kind of fucked up, so I'm gonna try and get you through this, but I'm kind of not happy about the way, like, you can't do that anymore. And then I sent a message of apology saying, like, I'm sorry, Mary, I fucked up. But he turned around and was like, well, don't worry about it, it's cool, it's not a big deal. That's one of the positive things that I take away from Mary, actually. I was sparring in Taekwondo and Muay Thai at the time, so I've had something worse. But I was expecting that.
As I say, with me, like, I think some people can take it, some people can't. The people in wrestling, what did you think of them?
Just other people, really. Just like me, really. Some have got more experience in wrestling than me, and obviously you pay respect to that. Obviously you get a few with a chip on their shoulder and that kind of stuff, but you deal with it as you have to, really. A lot of folk have said that wrestling can be a bit of a dodgy business. With some of the rumours I've heard, they I guess you could say that, but like I've not experienced any of the bad shit, if that makes sense. So that's the other thing. Stay away from politics, and just enjoy the ride, basically. Once I left school, I kind of like discovered drinking cigarettes and other kind of stuff. So when I was at school, I was doing, it was like wrestling on a Monday, ninjutsu on a Tuesday, and then taekwondo on a Sunday. So I was like, I had that kind of like practice everything, do everything, extremity about me. I just kind of like, I was socializing more when I left school, like exploring myself, trying new things, but at the same time I had a bit of a confidence dip, and because I was drinking and smoking, it was just, my health just went, like save up money and do other things so I could afford the open uni for one thing, and I was having a bit of a mental health problem, so bad that I actually thought I was given serious consideration to kill myself. Managed to get myself out of it, but one of the ways I was able to get out of it was I googled MMA gyms in Edinburgh, because what would it be like to step in the cage? And then I had my mental health problems, and I thought, fuck it, you're training in MMA, you might as well train in wrestling, because that's the thing I actually really wanted to do as a kid. And it just went from there. Officially, I've never left it. SSW got taken over by GPWA. Like, I'm back for the Open Uni, and of course I'm competing in MMA now, so I don't have the time or the money to commit to wrestling as did in the past. I'm aware, like, I'm 38, so I entered wrestling at a very late age. It doesn't stop me, but I'm aware that I'm not in my prime. And because I'm concentrating a lot on MMA right now, it's like go to Japan, go to America for a death match, go to Mexico, and have that one show in those countries, even if it's just one show. And then if I retire at 45, I gave it a go, if that makes sense.
I was just going to ask.
I always say is to take it as far as I can. Any match at this point, especially at my age, is like a win for me, even if it's a loss, if that makes sense. So it's scripted, it's what's the word, choreographed, but it's not fake. Try taking a few chops or taking a bump and see if that same person says the same thing. Perfect. Try doing something you just do. Try doing a somersault in mid-air off a turnbuckle onto a person outside the ring. Try doing a thumbtack bump. Yeah, I will soon see how fake it is. fights on YouTube or something, and they were like, the local gypsy lads against a local person at the bare knuckle boxing. Is I've got a mate, Rob Corner. Now, Rob Corner is also, I knew him from the wrestling as well, but he is also a Muay Thai champion and does the kickboxing. And he had signed up to a group down south called Spartan Bare Knuckle Boxing, and he was going to compete on the show. Now, I should point out this was during the pandemic. With a lot of people, the pandemic changed a lot of things, and definitely for me, it gave me a fuck it attitude. So, what Rob did was put me in contact with the people in Spartan. What you have to do with Spartan is you have to pay, at the time, I don't know how it works 100% right now, but you had to pay £100 deposit that produced tickets. And what you were supposed to do is you would sell those tickets, and then you would pay Spartan £300 from the ticket sales, and whatever you kept, from the rest of the ticket sales, that was your purse. Like, pay Spartan back the 300 that they were due, and you have like 600 or whatever it was on your own pocket. Mm-hmm. Bad thing is, I'm in Scotland, and all the shows were down in England. So the problem was I couldn't sell tickets, so I was kind of like, oh, pocket, and I still had to pay Spartan that 300 quid. So I was paying 400 quid in total to pay on the show. And I didn't want to pull out. Booked a hostel in Edinburgh, booked my train tickets, and just went down to England on my own. The thing with Spartan, it's not a ring, it's the hay bale pit, not a big pit. It's a pit. We've got the hay bales on the stage, and then that's when the fun started happening. Like, I was actually worried about, like, thinking, am I going to get stabbed by these cunts here? Like, am I going to get my cunt kicked in? But everyone was super friendly, super nice. I actually was speaking to my opponent before the fight, and we didn't realise until a wee bit later, that after we started speaking to each other, that we realised that we were going to be fighting in the pit together. So we didn't realise, we started speaking to each other, and then we didn't realise, oh shit, we're actually opponents.
A tree up on the hill, and days go by on your windowsill.
But the only way I can describe it, it's Spartan mentality, man. My opponent Phil Hammond, we've like still in regular contact, and we're, I would say, good friends as well. It's like you need to be in that situation to compete to realise what it's like being in that kind of community. I found a lot of people, they were honest, and it's like, not outside the community. I guess there's a bit of, I expect a bit of fakeness, but in that kind of community, it's like there's a raw, brutal honesty.
We're not born to feel the pain.
Bare knuckle boxing, it's one of those things that attract a lot of wannabe hard men who would say they'll fight, but on the day, they're nowhere to be seen. Or, and this happened in one of the shows that I was at my second show, someone turned up, kind of like saw what was happening and didn't run her. So I was quite a bit nervous, but it was a case of like, I think for me it was a case, if I back out now, the shame and the it was worth, even if I'd lost that fight, it was worth going down there.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I've noticed, especially with me doing bare knuckle boxing, is that with a lot of martial arts, there's a lot of safety involved. With karate, like up to that point, I'd been doing karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Or in competition fights, there's no knockouts whatsoever. If you knock someone out, you probably get a ban or something. So everything is like real light touch. Same thing with Taekwondo sparring. I think also with the bare knuckle thing is because a lot of folk pigeonhole you, and they don't think, oh, why is Shaun doing this kind of like violent kind of sport? There's only nutters and weirdos that kind of do that kind of thing. Doing it, one, I'm smashing any like kind of barriers that people put into me. Two, I'm doing things that my instructors, for all their level of attainment, I don't think any of my karate or kickboxing or taekwondo instructors have ever done a bare knuckle fight in a pit. And three, the reputation that some of the people get is undeserved, if that makes sense. There are more sounder people in the bare knuckle fighting community than there are in government or parliament, for a fact. One remembers me from primary school, like we must have, and what made my second fight really special is that he actually travelled with me down. Someone was going down just to watch me, to support me, rather than just to go there, if that makes sense. So that made the second fight even more special.
That's good.
I think a lot of folk didn't expect me to win the fight, and Mon had full confidence in me. So I guess the bare knuckle boxing's a bit of a brotherhood, really. So my sister is on my Facebook page, so I think she at least knows. I don't know if she's mentioned anything to Mum about that, but it's a case of like, I just say I'm away to a competition, and then that's it. And I don't actually give the details. I'm just like looking at like the pro MMA fighters and looking at their training. Just once a week, like they're doing all the Thursday classes. It's kind of the pro MMA fighters. And was like they're training like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. I was like thinking I need to like up our game. I can't just do 3 hours on a Thursday night. So some gyms they just want to train you MMA, so they don't want you doing Taekwondo or any other style because those organisations have different rules. Karate, it's like, it was touch sparring. 1 point and it's over for karate. It's not full contact. But I thought, like, if I at least get some training then, it'll count towards something. Loved as a kid, like, if you went to me as a kid saying, oh, I'm a black belt in blah, 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 I was like, wow, black belt. Actually, to have right now towards the black belt, it's a case of like, this is fucking more trouble than it's worth having. Jiu-jitsu. William pretty much said, yeah, you're shit.
Oh, did it, yeah?
And that really brought me down. My confidence started to drip big time. I had a couple of cage fights and they didn't go my way, if that makes sense. So I did what I could. But then on the there's an organisation called King of the Streets, and they have got a big reputation in bantamweight, good way and bad way. They were an underground fighting club, and I actually applied to compete on them. What happened is that they rejected my application, but said, look, we've got a sister organisation called the UUF. Have a couple of fights there, get a few wins, then come back at a later date. So I applied for the UUF and I competed for the UUF in Copenhagen. One of the things about UUF and King of the Streets is that there's no rules. This isn't like a pro wrestling where it's no rules, it's no rules, no rules. So eye gouging, going strikes, biting is allowed. My mate Alex, who was at my first bare knuckle fight, Alex was competing in Kings of the Street against a guy I know called Bash. And Bash bit Alex's ear off. It's one of the most infamous moments at King of the Streets. UUF were really good to me as well. Our fight was the longest fight of the night. I did myself proud, I think. I was nervous. The guy knocked me down once, I managed to get back up. I tried headbutting him, clinching each other. I couldn't get a lot of power for the headbutts. That kind of encouraged him to headbutt me as well. We were going back and forth, and the fight ended when he started to gouge my eyes. I can't remember, I got knocked down, he started covering my eyes, I spat my mouth out, my mouth got out, started screaming, and I screamed tap more than once, I think. The referee noticed I had screamed tap. The guys had to carry us out of the fight area. There was part of me like worried these guys are like, am I here with like lunatics that are going to stab me? But it was the case of like when I was in that cage. Everything started going in, like into place. That side of the cage, we were still fighting, and I noticed like at that corner, the people on that side were like shaking the cage, going mental, and it was the case like that just like gave me that adrenaline. So this is why I'm here, kind of thing. Deshborough was like give me fist bumps every now and then, and give me held my hand after the fight. Mentally afterwards, I was like up and down like a yo-yo. I was actually paranoid, thinking I could get stabbed by the audience members because I was going up feeling like I just had my first fucking no-rules fight. I feel like on top of the world, and then I was feeling like shit, this is illegal. There could be like. I actually asked the guy that was there if I could. He had a joint. Asked if I could have a few draws because I just needed to calm down a little bit more. Joint really helped. A medic actually gave me a wee. She noticed I was quite spiritual, so she gave me something to add to my necklace, which I thought was really nice. Lit 2 flares. And it was just a case of like, I survived my first no-rules fight. I feel so proud of myself just being with these guys, even though we've only just met, but I feel like kind of like brotherhood, camaraderie kind of thing. We were basically at each other's throats, at each other's eyes earlier. It made me feel really at home. I was like, Kings of the Streets, they've got a reputation of getting outsiders in it. By outsiders, I kind of like people at the fringe extremes. So I was actually thinking, hooligans, like football hooligans, are quite. So it made me think, who the hell am I actually with all these guys? But everyone was really nice to me. The fact that I went to the cage and had probably the longest fight of the night was supportive, even though I didn't win the fight. Any kind of like attitude, like all kind of brothers here, no one's. I think we were more disrespectful of the people that said they would fight but didn't turn up. I think because we both fought clean, and the guy Deshborough wanted to win it more than I did, and so he went for the tactics and he had the opportunity. But again, no rules, that's no rules, so you have to be kind of like. I was worried about that going into it and thinking, could I walk away with a serious injury? But luckily for me, that never happened. If I wanted to self-harm, and I've done this before, I would cut myself. So if I really wanted to harm myself, I would do it in another way, if that makes sense. With this, there's brotherhood and camaraderie and friendship and a release as well. And there's also a proof, if that makes sense. You're up against a guy who's been training a while and going to take your head off. Man on man, one-on-one. It's not been a thug, if that makes sense. Despite what people might say, it's not been thuggish people might go in there to like release that thuggish emotions and aggression and get it out. But all this debate is like, is this martial art? Is karate good for MMA? Is taekwondo? Is that effective martial art? Is that not? And what? So having trained so many styles and have like done so far, when you go to competitions, it's all in like safe environments and it's not actual fights, if that makes sense, where UF is. So you're finding out what you're training for those paths. Going into the UF was a way of proving myself and proving that I'm not a squeaker.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go into that environment. I may not win. I'm not the best, but I'm going to go into that environment and prove myself. And there'll be. I wish there was more evidence for it, but like, if that makes sense. That's the other thing. Like, there's those that boast about what they've not done, but the other thing that kind of puzzles me is people that say they will never do it.
Yeah.
And the bare knuckle fighting, the UF, the MMA fighting it makes me wonder when I hear people say they'd never step in the cage. Like, what planet are you fucking on? It's like, if that makes sense. I think they're doing the same thing to me, but it's the case of like, you never step into the cage for a fight. What's wrong with you, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like,
That's cool, man.
there's nothing to compare to it.
Yeah.
Great chat, Shaun. I mean, it's great seeing you again, man. So
So good.